There have been extensive discussions on federalism. We'd like to hear about what you specifically plan to push for if you're elected, specific pieces of legislation by way of federalism, political reforms, party reforms.
Well, of course, federalism is first on the agenda, but we have other ideas in mind. For instance, if we cannot push through with constitutional reforms, then we may have to do piecemeal legislation on anti-dynasty provisions.
Which is actually, well, it looks easier at this point. So,
well, it may be easier, but basically what we want really is have a law which prohibits succession up to the second degree, holding multiple positions, no? At least up to the second degree.
Politiko po yung tanong ni...
Which is what is here. Is in the draft.
Politiko, i-recast ko lang po yung tanong ni Ami. Ano po sa tingin niya mas mahirap? Charter change or to convince Congress to pass an anti-dynasty provision?
I think charter change would have a better chance because the reforms would be holistic.
But your group also said you want charter change and federalism only if there's a anti-dynasty provision.
Yes. So, but there are other options for charter change. We are not limited to Congress as a constituent assembly. We can have a constitutional convention, or we can even have people's initiative. In fact, this entire draft, if we want really to push through with it, we can subject this to people's initiative instead. No?
It but they tried that already during GMA's time. Yeah, although it was, of course, it was a sloppy. Well, that's what critics said. It was a sloppy process, it was a rushed process.
Yeah, that's why we're looking at it. We're studying it very carefully also, whether we can go people's initiative with this one.
You are seriously considering a people's initiative with this?
Yes, we are.
Regardless of the results of the Senate race?
Yes, regardless of the result of the elections. In fact...
By we, you mean the CONCOM members?
CONCOM members, and well, some CONCOM members, I cannot speak for all of them, no? But as far as the group of CJ Puno is concerned, our group, we're seriously considering people's initiative. In fact, the main reason why
it will be a more organized effort than the first one.
Than the first one.
Okay.
And it will have a sound legal basis because we will have no less than a former Chief Justice to guide us.
Because the last one was described by critics as a politically harebrained idea.
Yeah. But remember, it lost by only one vote in the Supreme Court. 8-7 was the vote in the Supreme Court when I think that was the draft was the one made by the commission headed by Professor Abueva, right? No, this was the People's Initiative was led by Mr. Lambino, if I'm not mistaken, no? Yes, and then,
I don't remember.
Yes. It was the so-called Lambino decision in the Supreme Court.
Sir, when you mentioned dynasties kanina and you talked about succession or banning succession, I suppose by that you're referring to what they would call the thin dynasties, yung sunod-sunod yung mag-ama.
Yes.
What about the fat dynasties, the ones that are spread
out
over
positions,
over a particular term? They're spread out across multiple electoral posts.
Yes, same as what is...
And provinces, actually.
Yes, provinces, even regions, no?
Yeah.
What is proposed here actually limits one family to one position. It's the same thing that if ever that it does not push through in the Constitution, it's the same thing that we will file in the Congress in the form of legislation. That's in the political arena. Of course, in terms of the economy, what I have in mind is a national industrialization program. We're among the few countries that have not industrialized. We have not industrialized. Now it's already the information age. But even if we are in the information age already, industrialization is still vital. Because right now we are not producing, I would say, 70 to 80% of the goods that we need. More than 50%, 60% comes from China.
Okay, so what do you see? What do you see by way of a potential proposal that can instigate that?
Well, we'll have to craft a national industrialization plan, where not only the private sector will invest, but government itself. You know, even in the United States, the government invests in industries. In Singapore, in South Korea. How did the steel industry in South Korea was first established by the South Korean government before they turned it over to the private sector?
Yes.
Bangladesh now has a steel industry. We don't have. That's why we cannot manufacture an engine block. So we cannot have a car industry in the Philippines. We cannot manufacture any machine that we can use for our factories because we don't have a steel industry.